Global greetings to all my viewers. I am Moksha Shukla from class 7th, and today we are going to study about a very new topic, which is chapter 2 of history, which is kings and kingdoms. Let's start. Introduction. The 7th century in India saw the rise of various regional powers. Some of the big landlords or warrior chiefs who were acknowledged by the existing kings as their subordinates, called Samantas, gained power. They gradually began to carve out kingdoms for themselves and attacked others to gain more area under their rule. The Rashtrakutas were subordinates to the Chalukyas. However, in the mid 8th century, a Rashtrakuta chief named Danti Durga overthrew his Chalukyan overlord and established himself as the king of the Deccan. Men belonging to other professions also began establishing kingdoms for themselves. For example, Mayur Sharman from Kadam dynasty and Hari Chandra from Gurjar Pratihara dynasty were Brahmins who established their kingdoms in Karnataka and Rajasthan respectively. These kingdoms were not as vast as the empires created by the Mauryas or the Guptas, and they were involved in constant warfare. Some of the important dynasties of this period were the Rajputs, Gurjar Pratiharas, Palas, Rashtrakutas, and the Cholas. The Rajputs. The word Rajput comes from the Sanskrit word Rajputra, which means son of a king. The term is applied to a group of warriors who claim to belong to the Kshatriya caste. Clans claiming to be Rajputs were spread out over north and northwestern India. The Rajputs claimed to be either Suryavanshi, which meant descendants of the sun, or Chandravanshi, which meant descendants of the moon. Some clans also claim that they emerged from a sacred fire, that is, they belonged to the fire family, Agnikul. Where and how the Rajputs originated remains shrouded in the mystery. Many believe that the Rajputs were the descendants of various tribes from Central Asia, such as Shaks, Kushans, Huns, and Gurjars. These tribes married into the local communities. Major changes took place in the Indian subcontinent after the death of Harshvardhan and decline of Magad kingdom. The Gurjar Pratiharas, a Rajput clan, rose to prominence in North India. Later on, various Rajput clans such as Tomars, Chahmanas or Chauhans, Chandelas, Gah- Gahadwalas, Parmaras, and Solankis began to build their own kingdom and gain prosperity. The Palas. The Palas were an important and powerful dynasty in eastern India. The Pala kingdom was established by Gopal, who is believed to have been elected by the people. His son Dharampala conquered Kannauj for a period of time. The Pala kingdom spread across the entire regions of the present-day Bihar and Bengal. Devpal, Gopala's grandson, expanded the boundaries of the kingdom to include Assam, Odisha, and some parts of Nepal. The Palas were patrons of Buddhism. The famous Vikramshila University was established by Dharampala. Turn the page. The Gurjar Pratiharas. The Gurjar Pratiharas ruled over the western India and parts of the upper Gangetic Valley. The founder of this empire was Hari Chandra. The Gurjar Pratiharas rulers rose to power because they defended the northern boundaries from invasions from 712 to 1000. The Gurjar Pratiharas gained prominence during the rule of Nagbhat I, who conquered Malwa and Bharuch. Mihir Bhoja (836 to 890) was the most famous of the Gurjar Pratihara rulers. He captured Kannauj and made it made it a capital. He further extended his empire to parts of Punjab, Awadh, Malwa, and Gujarat. His son Mahendrapal helped in expanding the empire further by conquering Magad and North Bengal. The Gurjar Pratiharas declined in the 10th century with the invasions of Mahmud of Ghazni. Rashtrakutas. The Rashtrakutas were a powerful dynasty of the Deccan region. They were sons of the Chalukyas. As the Chalukyan kingdom declined, Danti Durga, the founder of Rashtrakuta kingdom, declared his independence after overthrowing his Chalukyan overlord. He performed a ritual ceremony called Hiranyagarbh, which literally means the golden womb. It was supposed to lead to the rebirth of the performer as a Kshatriya, even if he was not one by birth. Govind III, 793 to 814, Amogh Varsh, 814 to 878, and Krishna III, 934 to 963, are some of the well known Rashtrakuta rulers. In the north, the Rashtrakutas fought against the Palas and the Gurjar Pratiharas over the control of Kannauj, and in the south, they came into territorial conflicts with the Pallavas of Kanchipuram. The Rashtrakutas encouraged the growth of Kannada. Amogh Varsha was a poet in himself and he wrote poetry in Kannada. The Kailashnath temple at Ellora and the Elephanta caves near Mumbai were constructed by the Rashtrakutas. Tripartite struggle. The fight between the Palas, the Gurjar Pratiharas, and Rashtrakutas over the control of Kannauj is referred to as the tripartite struggle. It is referred to as the tripartite since it is involved in parties. Kannauj was an important city in North India. It was located in the upper Gangetic Valley. Any dynasty having control over this area also had access to rich natural resources and fertile land of the entire Ganga Valley. Since Harshvardhana's time, Kannauj was seen as the symbol of supremacy, and each clan wanted to establish its hold over it. This struggle, which persisted for approximately 2 centuries, weakened these three kingdoms. Administration of the regional kingdoms 700 to 1200. These new kingdoms were marked by the rise of the Samants, the warrior chiefs re- in different regions of the subcontinent. They were feudatory rulers, subordinate to the king, and were expected to provide military support during the times of war. The king granted the Samans land from which they could collect taxes. They were expected to maintain their household and armies with the taxes they collected. The kings also gave land grants to Brahmins who did not have to pay taxes on these lands. Some of the Samans or Mandalikas became very powerful and founded independent kingdoms for themselves like Danti Durga. They also adopted grander titles like the Mahasamant and Mahamandaleshwar, the great lord of a circle or region. The king's position remained powerful. His prestige depended on his success in wars and the size of his kingdom. Usually, the king was succeeded by the eldest son, but there were cases of coups organized by other family members. The kings often displayed their status or power by adopting very high sounding titles such as Maharaja Dhiraj, King Maharaja Dhiraja, King of Kings, and Tribhuvan Chakravartin, Lord of the Three Worlds. The sources of such information are the Prashastis. The Prashastis contain details of the lives of the rulers and their forefathers. Some information in these Prashastis may not be actually true because they were written in the way the rulers wanted to depict themselves. Prashastis almost always praise the actions of the rulers. They were written usually by Brahmins who were given land grants as rewards. Raja Ratangiri, River of Kings, is a historical chronicle of early India, written in Sanskrit verse by the Kashmiri Brahmin Kalhana in 1148. It is often critical about the Kashmiri rulers in their and their policies. It covers the entire span of history in the Kashmir region from the earliest times to the date of its composition. Economy. Taxes were the main source of revenue for the kings. This revenue was used for maintaining the palace, constructing temples and other buildings, conducting military campaigns, and other welfare activities. Another method of obtaining resources was plunder. The most important reason for the various rulers to engage in warfare was to gain access to resources beyond their territories. Temples built by the medieval rulers were symbols of their power, wealth, and fortune. So kings often looted and plundered each other's temples in order to establish supremacy and acquire wealth. The wealth of temples and temple towns soon began to attract foreign invaders such as Mahmud of Ghazni. Mahmud of Ghazni was the ruler of the Ghazni in Afghanistan from 997 to 1030. He had no interest in creating an empire in India. However, he needed resources to defend his own kingdom in Central Asia. Between 1000 to 1027 CE, Mahmud of Ghazni attacked India 17 times, targeting rich towns and temples such as Mathura, Kannauj, Thaneswar, Nagarkot, and Somnath. Mahmud of Ghazni seized the wealth from the temples, destroying many of them in the process. Along with wealth, he also carried away learned men and skilled artists. He used this wealth and the skill of these artisans to build palaces, mosques, and colleges in Ghazni. Al-Biruni and Firdausi were two famous scholars of his court. Firdausi wrote the Shahnama, which is about the history of Persia starting from the time of the legendary king Afrasyabi. Firdausi wrote the eulogy for the Mahmud of Ghazni, which he turned into a satire. Mahmud died in 1030. His empire collapsed soon after his death. He attacked results in the Turks, becoming aware of the way to enter India from northwest. India faced the next wave of Turkish invasions 150 years after Mahmud of Ghazni's death. These raids were led by Muhammad Ghori, Muhammad of Ghor. Sultan Shahabuddin Muhammad Ghori was the ruler of Ghor, a district in the present-day Afghanistan. He is mostly known as Muhammad Ghori or Muhammad of Ghor. He came to the throne in 1173. He wanted to build a large empire in North India and conquered Multan in Uch in Punjab. He was soon involved in conflicts with the then ruler of Delhi and Ajmer, Prithviraj III or Prithviraj Chauhan. Battles of Tarain. Two battles were fought at Tarain between Prithviraj Chauhan and Muhammad Ghori. In the first battle of Tarain, 1191, Prithviraj Chauhan defeated Muhammad Ghori. In the second battle, 1192, Muhammad Ghori emerged victorious. Reason for Prithviraj's defeat. Many historians believe that Prithviraj's failure in the second battle of Tarain was caused by the lack of support by Raja Jayachandra of Kannauj. Others believe that it was because the Indian rulers did not have access to the war technologies used by the Turks, like iron stirrups and bows, that could shoot long distances. Most of the rulers depended on their summons to provide them with an army who did not know how to work together, as they came from various regions. There was no common plan of action or organization. The Turks, on the other hand, very were very well organized, and they had a faster cavalry. They used horses which were too fast and quick for the Indian elephants. Muhammad Ghori's victory marked the beginning of Turkish rule in India and the creation of the slave dynasty. It also marked the beginning of the Delhi Sultanate. The Chola kingdom. The Cholas ruled from Urayur in Tamil Nadu. They were known for their system of local self-government. Chola administration. The empire was divided into several mandlams. These mandlams were further subdivided into Valnadu and Nadu. A group of villages together was a Nadu, and a number of Nadus together was a Valanadu. Each village had two assemblies, the Ur and the Sabha. The Ur comprised of all the people of the village who owned land. The Sabha comprised of the Brahmins of the village. Inscriptions have been found from the Uttarmerur, Chingliput district in Tamil Nadu that suggest that they chose their representatives for the village council. The village was divided into 30 wards. From each ward, people had to write the name of the eligible candidates to be selected for the committee work on a palm leaf. All these tickets of palm leaves were then put into a pot. Then a young boy would be asked to take out the tickets one by one for each committee. These committees looked after the various affairs of the village, such as measuring of land under cultivation, calculation and collection of tax, building and repairing of water tanks and irrigation canals, maintenance of roads and temples, and settling of disputes. Rich peasants exercised great power and control over the village administration under the Chola government. The Chola kings awarded them important titles and gave them important offices at the center. According to the Uttarmerur inscription, they required criteria to become the members of a village council were they should have their own land on which they paid taxes. They should have their own houses. They should be well versed in the Vedas. They should be between 35 to 70 years of age. They should be honest and well versed in administrative matters. Those who have been a committee for the past 3 years could not become members. Those who have not submitted their or their relatives' accounts could not become members. Grants and payments. The Chola rulers granted land to the royal officers, Brahmins, temples, and other religious institutions. The Brahmins were given grants of land which were referred to as Brahmadev. They were rented free lands. These Brahmadev lands were looked after by a Sabha. The temples are said to have been the largest landholders during the Chola period. Often entire villages were gifted to temples. These were referred to as Devdan. Land donated to Jain institutions was referred to as Parichandam. Vengalai, Velanvagai was the land given to non-Brahman individuals such as the member of Velal caste. Shalbhog was the land given for maintenance of schools. Culture. The Chola rulers built a large number of temples. The temples built by Raja and Rajendra Chola are excellent examples of temple architecture. Chola art and temples. The Chola period also saw excellence in the making of bronze images, mostly of gods and goddesses. The Nataraj sculpture was created during this time and is considered one of the finest specimens of Indian craftsmanship. The temples were not just the places of worship, they were a hub of the social, economic, and cultural life of the people. The construction and upkeep of the temples provided employment to various artists, craftsmen, and sculptors, priests, musicians, dancers, flower sellers, cooks, and so on. Temples were built on tax-free land. The priests used the money gained from this land for the maintenance of the people and to pay the various people associated with it. Carnatic music originally began in South Indian temples, as did the classical dance form of Bharatanatyam. Dancing girls who were known as Devdasis learned and performed in the temples. Schools and hospitals grew around the temples. People also held meetings there. Life thus centered around the temples. Chola inscriptions. We get a lot of information about the Cholas from their inscriptions. Copper plates held together by a royal seal often had inscriptions regarding the grants made by the rulers. They contain details like the genealogy of the ruler, Sanskrit verses praising the gods and goddesses, details of the grant whether it be landed, ornament, or cattle. Thorough investigations of these sources revealed a lot of information to the historians. Apart from these copper plate inscriptions, we also have a large number of inscriptions on the walls or the temples. They record various events such as functions of village assemblies, crafts, trade guilds, and gifts made by royalty. For example, the inscription of Brihadeshwar temple tells us about the areas conquered by Rajaraja, his titles, the gifts made by him, and the royal ladies to the temple, and many other things. Case study: the Cholas. In ancient period, Cholas from Urayur in Tamil Nadu were one of the important ruling clans in South India. There was a decline in the power with the rise of clans like the Pallavas and the Chalukyas. However, in the ninth century, Vijayalai, who belonged to the Chola family, captured the Kaveri Delta area from the Mutharayar family, a minor family who were feudatories of the Pallavas, and re-established Chola rule. He captured Thanjavur and made it its capital. Vijayalaya's successors conquered more areas and expanded the Chola Empire. They ruled over a large part of South India for nearly 4 centuries, 9th to 12th century. Raja I and his son Rajendra are the two kings under whom the Chola Empire expanded and prospered. Raja 915 to 1014. Raja I came to the throne in 985. He defeated the Pandyas, the Chalukyas, and the Cheras for territorial gains. He had powerful navy which he used to conquer parts of northern Sri Lanka and gain control over the Maldives. He built the beautiful Brihadeshwar or the Rajarajeshwar temple in Thanjavur in Tamil Nadu in 1010. Rajendra Chola 1014 to 1044. Rajendra Chola was the son and successor of Raja I, who came to the throne after the death of his father. He further consolidated and expanded the Chola Empire by completing the conquest of Sri Lanka that had been started by his father. He defeated Mahipal, the ruler of Bengal, after crossing the river Ganga. After this victory, he assumed the title of Gangaikond, which meant the conqueror of the Ganga. Rajendra Chola also laid the foundations of a new capital city, Gangaikonda Cholapuram, near Thanjavur. Using his naval strength, Rajendra Chola expanded his empire in the southeast in Asia. The kingdom of Srivijaya, that is, Malay, Sumatra, and Java, did not allow Chola ships and their merchants to sail through the Malacca Straits to China and the Malay Peninsula. Rajendra Chola was able to defeat the ruler of the Srivijaya Empire and restore the trading relations of the Chola Empire with Southeast Asia and China. Economy. In addition to land tax, Cholas collected taxes on trades and professions. There were also taxes on various activities such as thatching the house, use of a ladder to climb palm trees, and on the transfer of property from one generation to the other. The most frequently mentioned taxes were Kadamai, which was land tax, and Veti, which was taken not in the form of cash but in the form of forced labor. Agrarian template expansion. Land use for cultivation was increased under the Chola administration. This was mainly due to developments, clearing of forests, and irrigation of dry barren land. Embankments were built to prevent flooding, and canals were built to bring water to the fields. Wells and dams were constructed. At some places, huge tanks were built to collect rainwater. There was even a committee which was responsible for maintaining irrigation facilities. This kind of expansion helped to obtain rich land revenue. Let's finish off with a small recap of this chapter. The term Rajput is applied to a group of warriors who claim to belong to the Kshatriya caste. Some of the important dynasties of the early medieval period that were that of the Palas, Gurjar Pratihars, Rashtrakutas, and Cholas. The Palas were an important kingdom in eastern India. Gopal was its founder. The Gurjar Pratiharas were an important kingdom in western India in parts of the upper Gangetic Valley. Harichandra was its founder. The Rashtrakutas were an important kingdom in the Deccan region. Danti Durga was its founder. These three kingdoms of the Palas, the Gurjar Pratiharas, and Rashtrakutas were engaged in tripartite struggle, which was a struggle for the control of Kannauj. The Samans were warrior chiefs who expected to provide military support to the king during time of wars. Kings often looted and plundered each other's temples to establish supremacy and acquire wealth. Sultan Mahmud was the ruler of Ghazni from 997 to 1030. Between 1000 to 1027, he invaded India 17 times. Two battles at Tarain were fought between Muhammad Ghori and Prithviraj Chauhan. Prithviraj Chauhan's defeat in the second battle marked the beginning of Turkish rule and Delhi Sultanate. The Chola Empire was divided into several mandalams, which were further subdivided into Valnadu and Nadu. Each village had two assemblies, the Ur and the Sabha. The Chola rulers granted land to royal officers, Brahmins, temples, and other religious institutions. The Chola period saw excellence in the making of bronze images, copper plate inscriptions, and inscriptions on walls of temples provided information about the Cholas. Vijayalaya re-established Chola rule in the medieval India. The Brihadeshwar temple at Thanjavur was built by Raja Chola in 1010. The Cholas collected taxes on various activities. The most frequently mentioned tax were Kamadai, Kadamai, and Vetti. This is all for today. In the next video, अरे edit कर देना हाँ. Till then, stay tuned, stay positive. Bye. काट देना.